Leaders, they try to manage chaos. Well, you know what? Today, we're going to break down the blueprint that turns overwhelm into opportunity. Coming up, mornings in the lab. Hello, good morning. What's going on, nation? Good morning, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. This is the morning show. Welcome to Mornings in the Lab. Where? Yeah, we're average leaders. Yeah, those average leaders, they're over there. Those guys are over there. The average leaders expire and the exceptional performers thrive right here. I'm Keith Bilous. I'm your host. I'm hunting. Hey, listen, if you're hunting for that gentle leadership advice, the stuff that makes you feel all soft and warm and fuzzy, go over there. Yeah, true story. Go over there. If you're looking for advice to get your ass out of bed to help you not hit the snooze button, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and welcome you to today's show. Before we dive in, quick heads up, this show is for adults or children who are used to hearing the F-bomb, the S-bomb, the B-bomb, any bomb that we drop here on the show. So I invite you to put the headphones in the room, the headphones on the kids, or walk the kids out of the room. Because today is a show where we drop language that they just might be uncomfortable with, or you're going to have to increase the tip jar. Hey, listen, today we are going to expose the truth about leadership that nobody is talking about. Your morning routine. No, it's just about, listen, your morning routine is not just about you anymore. It's about everyone who depends on your performance, nation. And today, who I got with me here today is John Anderson and Richie Ingram, two guys who've mastered the art of turning pressure into power. Flynn's off being mom and Marty's off doing his thing. And I got some funny stuff to share with you guys a little bit later this morning. But hey, listen, we got someone here this morning in the green room who knows exactly what it takes to transform chaos. Oh yeah. Chaos into clarity. Cassie Adkins is joining us today, and she has no idea what the hell she has gotten herself into. Listen, when tech CEOs are facing their biggest challenge, managing teams, aligning leadership, maintaining morale, who do they call? Yeah, they don't call John. They don't call Richie. No, they call Cassie. They call Cassie. She doesn't just manage change. Nope. She engineers transformation. AJ Zeglin is going to drop by around the 46 minute mark of the show. Our mind feel expert, the guy who helps our mental performance move forward. We got a great conversation coming up with him later this morning. Hey, but first, no month is in full swing. Look at the calendar. Yeah, it is November something. It's the month where you can say no, so you can say yes to your wildest dreams. Listen, you can't have both. You just can't have both. There's not enough room in your life to keep saying no to everything when you want to say yes to something quite substantial. The League of Business Athletes is live right now, not for dreamers, not for the everyday crowd, not for the basic. It's for 10 leaders who are ready to put in 100 days, 100 hours to get one result. Success. How do I know? I've been there. True fucking story. If you're excited by this, I invite you to do this, to do the smart thing. Yeah, true. Follow, subscribe, hit that like button, because the next 2 hours, oh, baby, it's not just about managing teams, it's about engineering excellence. Listen, if you're looking for a fucking boring podcast, go find the boring podcast. Yeah, it's sitting on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're looking for an entertaining show that helps you get your ass out of bed, this is the one you need to be on here, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. Jimmy, I'm going to put my attention on this camera. We're going to bring in our crew. I really want to know what the hell John's wearing today. Oh, John's got the black on black with the red.
Let's get them
beret
out of the way.
Red beret and the fuck average t-shirt on there. And Richie, I'm not colorblind today, but you got the blue shirt on with the hoodie and the nice, Johnny, he's got the nice locks, shaved locks here today with the black headset. And of course I got the black on black with the camouflage hat on. So actually, I know you guys can't see my hat. So Richie's a former veteran. Richie's like, Keith doesn't even have a fucking thing in his head. He's like, I can't see the top of Keith's head right now.
I can see camouflage hat, brother. I think it says fit. Am I correct?
Yes, thank you very much. Oh, Johnny can read today. And Johnny's brought the
as soon as you tell me as soon as somebody tells me I can't, my superpower comes out.
I know that about you. And you know what? Richie, I can fucking sleep today because Johnny brought the cigar to the stage. I need to go to the lab over here and go bring out my cannabis joint so I can bring my cannabis and Johnny can have his cigar. Richie's probably got the snuff chewed under his lip. Richie, you get the snuff under the lip there right now?
I quit, man.
Look at that.
Johnny, we're 7 minutes into this thing. We already have a revelation. We have some vulnerability being thrown onto the table. Rich Ingram, do tell, you said I'm done. What happened?
Man, so I'm in an intensity block right now, right, with my training. So I'm doing speed work. I'm doing a lot of lifting in the gym, and I'm still doing long run. Like I did a 3-hour run this morning. And so I just wasn't recovering as well as I thought that I would. So, you know, as soon as something like that happens, because it's just a fun thing for me. But as soon as it starts affecting performance, fuck it, man, it's out. So
you know what that is right there. That's him doing whatever he's got to do to get the job done.
Yeah,
you know, like yesterday, I whipped out my thing of beef because I was running late on my meals. I brought it to the show. I was eating it when I was up taking a piss. I was taking a few bites, and Christine was like, "You're crushing beef at 5 a.m." Actually, I was crushing beef at 3 a.m.
I rolled over in the middle of the night and like squeezed some water in my mouth. John's got like his bag of fucking beef at 2 o'clock in the morning.
But what it comes down to is it's just this is no knock to Christina. This is just, we're so programmed to what is normal. Well, normal is not doing what it takes. And Richie and I, if something's got to fucking be moved to get to the goal, well, it's not a question of it's done.
Yeah. Thanks for including me in that conversation there, Johnny. Yeah. You and Richie get shit done that no others do. And I just hang out here and I'm the observer.
Forgive it. I'm talking about on a physical level. Now, keep in mind, if we went on to listen, brother, I haven't fucking sold a company for $50 million. Listen, you got my ass whooped on the business front. You crushed me on the business front. I can't wait. I can't wait to sell a company for $50 million. I'm working on it, but
there's shit going on behind the scenes, man. We might be getting closer every single day, Anderson. You never know. Hey, we got some good comments coming in.
My shit is building, but I'm still giving you where the fuck you're in the king's chair of the financing of the show.
Oh, Johnny, I love you, man. Good morning, Jack Dugan. Good to see you in the comments here this morning. Good morning, Venom fan. Good morning, good time. Good to have you here. And as well, we got God is good. Jesus loves you. Good to see you there as well in the comments. Hey, listen, I invite you to comment, subscribe, like the channel. We're the only morning show to get your ass out of bed. Built for men, help you guys be accountable and hit those big audacious goals. Hey, Johnny, Richie, so Flynn's not here, as we know. Flynn's got some obligations today. She's working on stuff, but as we know, guys, she's working on being a parent, as we know, and she's one of those processes of being a parent is removing the soother from one of the kids' worlds. So,
what is the soother?
Well,
what is it?
You know, like the rub.
Pacifier.
Oh, you're talking literally a pacifier. Okay, because there's so many things that we soothe kids with. I mean, Christ, soother could be a fucking iPad in today's world.
Well, this is true. So I know that her and Aaron have been working on moving the pacifier out of her son's life. So I got a text this morning. She was sending me some notes for the show, and I said, "Hey, I'm never mind the show. How are you and Aaron doing? How's the little boy?" So, Jimmy, let's roll this. She sent me a video. Guys, check this out. No. So those of you that are wondering where Christina Flynn is,
Okay, let's go get
Well, you know the good thing about a kid is that he'll eventually cry himself to sleep. You know what I mean? Yeah, and what I used, I mean, literally, I remember there was when I was trying to get my middle daughter to sleep by herself.
Yeah,
you know, she'd get sick, and I'd bring her to bed with me, which was a huge mistake, you know, because then she wouldn't want to go to bed by herself. And I remember one time, it was like, okay, I got to do it, and so I put her in bed. She just fucking went bananas, just like that. And so I stepped outside the door, closed the door. And I just sat outside the fucking door. I wasn't going to leave because I wanted to support her, but I did. She was fucking crying. I was fucking crying. It was like we both cried ourselves to sleep that night. Because when it comes down, here's what parents don't understand. You put your kid in a fucking timeout, you're in timeout with them.
Yeah.
You don't just get to put them in fucking timeout and walk away. It's not that simple. And so, but I mean, I went through it too, because I was a thumb sucker.
Yeah.
I was a womb thumb sucker. So was my middle daughter. So what I did with that one is we obviously she was old enough to talk. I let her go to the point where we could communicate about it. And she was getting to the point where, like, in school, she'd just find herself put in at her desk, but she was taking heat, right? I said, okay, we're going to put a timeline on this. And if you don't get there, we're going to start putting some nasty shit on your tongue. So on your thumb. So when you put that in there, you know, it tastes bad. So we ended up putting Tabasco on her thumb and all sorts of shit.
They actually sell stuff now for that.
Well,
they sell stuff where you can put it
none
on.
None of that worked, because she would just wash it off. So we actually had to go to the orthodontist and put a fucking, I don't know what it's called, but it was like a spike. So she couldn't get it in there without hitting that spike.
Oh man,
damn, that's fucking hardcore.
So to those you wondering,
that's how deep that shit is. I mean, it's like you were ripping something out from their chest, you know.
So Johnny, I got to tell you, when I got the video, I was not only laughing with Flynn and Aaron. I then thought about my brother Richie, because I know Richie has some younger children than you and I, Johnny, and I'm thinking that Richie probably has just been exiting this phase over the last few years. I'm thinking, right? Like, how old are the kids, Rich?
6, 4, and 2.
Yeah, right. So you have just been exiting, and I know not yesterday or last week, but over the last 5 years of your life, you have had to exit the scenario that Flynn is exiting, Richie.
Yeah, we were fortunate with our first one when we took the Passy away.
Yeah,
we were so anxious about it. Like, we had built up like it was going to be this big deal, and we had all these things that we could replace it with, and we said, okay, you know, one day it just wasn't in the crib, and Andy's like, well, whatever she called it, and we're like, well, hey, we're not going to use that anymore. She was like, okay, that was it. And then the third one didn't even use one. Like, we just, so, you know, our son, he's the middle child. You just forget about them. I don't even remember. He probably still has one. I don't even fucking know.
So funny.
But yeah, ours were pretty simple, man.
That's good. Good morning, Joe.
What Christina's going through is real. I mean, that's no fucking joke. I mean, that when a kid's getting rid of that soother, it's like pulling something out of their chest to them. So I mean, she's going through something very real. I totally feel for her.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Jack Dugan. Good morning, Joe Fantana. Good to see you here, Joe. What's shaking, brother? What branch of the military did Rich serve in? Hey, Joey, we're going to get to that conversation with Rich in the second hour here and throughout the show, so I invite you to stick around and jack the YouTube minutes up, brother. And Johnny, quick question for you. Joe is asking you, what cigar are you smoking today, brother?
This is actually I took the wrapper off. It's a acid, but I don't remember the color. I think it's actually a gold color.
Well, there you go, Johnny.
I take the label. I don't like to hold the label. I like to hold the actual tobacco. So when I take the label off before I get out here to the studio, so I just grab one of these bad boys, and it doesn't make a difference. No matter what I grab, it's going to be good.
There you go.
Drew Estates, baby.
There you go. Johnny smoking acid here this morning on Mornings and Alive with Keith and friends. Listen, let's talk about the lie, Richie, Johnny, that most leaders, they tell themselves. I'll get organized when things get done. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'm going to go delegate that later. I'm going to go hire that person tomorrow. No, here's the thing. Here's the truth. Things never slow down. Nope. Sorry. True story. End of story. Things will never slow down. Success doesn't wait for perfect conditions, wait for the sun to come out. No, leadership doesn't pause for better timing. Every morning you have a choice. Hit the snooze button or get up. Yep. You can let chaos control you, or you can let that chaos transform you into your competitive advantage. Listen, you heard Rich. The guys ran for 3 fucking hours this morning already. So if you're starting your day and you're wondering what you're going to do next, just hear what I said next. Oh, I'll tell you what I said before. He just ran for 3 hours. Yeah, so there's really no reason not to get going today. It's going to give you a competitive advantage to the guy that's not doing the 3 hours today. Most leaders, they start their day reactive. Me, I already got 30 kilometers on the bike this morning. Check emails, fight fires, play catch up, all that bullshit. But Johnny, elite performers, what do? They don't manage chaos. No, they transform it. They don't wait for clarity. No, they create it. They don't hope for alignment. No, they engineer it. As Johnny likes to say, business athletes do the shit that the basic people don't want to do. Yeah. When morning routine isn't just about productivity anymore, it's about everyone who depends on your performance. And I'm telling you, everyone, every decision you make, every minute you waste, every moment you hesitate, it compounds across your entire team. Yes, it does. Johnny, Richie, when a leader is stuck in chaos, give somebody an edge right now, both you guys, in 60 seconds or less. Johnny, first with you, man. When a leader is starting his day right now, he's stuck in chaos. Where does he begin right now to unfuck things? John Anderson.
It's when you, first off, when you're in that state, you got to realize that there's actually what they call the chaos period. And that chaos period is there. It's designed to help you restructure, because the chaos period is what actually allows you to shoot ahead. So what I'm going to do in that situation, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write out the shit that's swirling through my brain that I can't slow down. I shouldn't say can't, that I'm having a hard time slowing down. And then I'm going to prioritize what needs to be done, because usually there's a bunch of shit in there that doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference. So pick out that one or two things and go get it, and all of this goes away.
That's it. Keep it going, Richie. Keep that momentum going, brother. Give something for somebody right now. Give them something to hang on, brother. What got you going this morning, pal? Get it.
So my biggest thing, are we talking about like in the workplace, you're constantly putting out fires? Because
there's a dude getting up right now and he's fucking wants to unfuck his day, and he's looking at you for something to get his day going, Richie Rich.
Dude, you got to schedule it. You got to sit down and you got to take the time, and this can be 1 to 2 minutes. Anything can fucking wait 1 minute. Even if you're putting out a fucking fire, if a house is burning down, something can wait for you to get a plan together and then fucking execute. Because if you don't have a plan, you're just in motion. And when you're just in motion without any fucking direction, you might as well just be sitting there doing nothing.
Yes.
So stop, think, get a plan together, and then execute.
I love, and you heard Richie, man. You heard him.
That poor in that poor bastard that's in this place right there this morning, what he needs to do is make sure he doesn't let this happen again tomorrow by planning his shit out tonight for tomorrow morning.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Nation, we've created the show. There's no magic. No, we start here every single day, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to be here tomorrow, 8 o'clock too. So if you've missed your mark this morning, you get a chance to do it again tomorrow. Jimmy, let's do it. The accountability check-in. Cassie Adkins is coming up in less than 60 seconds. Cassie, are you ready? Hey, the average leader. Yes, they spend 73% of their morning fighting fires. Just fucking putting fires out left and right everywhere. Next, I'm going to show you the framework that transforms chaos into competitive advantage. Listen, it's time to get real about your leadership. Pull up your calendar from yesterday. You heard Richie. You heard Johnny. Pull it up. I'm telling you. Count the fires you fought. Count the reactions that you had. Count the times you let the chaos win. I bet it happened often, especially this week in the United States. Now look at your team. Look at it. Look at your team. Are they following your vision, or are they inheriting your chaos? Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to inherit that chaos you bring to the table. Because here's what most leaders miss. Your morning chaos, no, it's not just affecting you. It's not just affecting your family. It's becoming your team standard. It's becoming your company's culture. Oh, baby, this one's going to hurt. It's becoming your leadership legacy. So listen, every time you start your day reactive, you let urgency beat importance. Every time you choose that chaos over clarity, you're not just failing yourself, man. You're not just failing yourself. You're programming mediocrity into your entire organization. All right, accountability check-in every day, 8:17 Eastern time, something to give you to think about, to get your ass out of bed. Don't hit the snooze button. Don't get your day 9 minutes behind. Jimmy, let's bring up our guest here. Let's bring in the gang here. And listen, we got somebody coming up here right now, Cassie Adkins. We're going to get into a CEO coach reveals how to transform team chaos into excellence. When tech entrepreneurs and CEOs are merging billion-dollar teams, they don't call Ghostbusters. Oh, bad joke. No, they call her. Yeah. Today, she's sharing the exact blueprint she uses to transform leadership chaos into organizational excellence. And it all starts in the first 90 minutes of your day. Cassie Adkins, welcome to Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Cassie.
How are you?
I am a ball of anxiety. How are you?
Oh, good. So what brings the ball of anxiety today? You have 3 brothers. You're hanging out with 3 brothers this morning. How are you?
I know that was not lost on me. Believe you me. So
where are you joining us from today, Cassie? Where are you coming from today?
I am in Virginia on 12 acres on a dead end road in the middle of nowhere. Just how I like it.
Oh,
nice. Sounds amazing.
That does sound amazing. Yeah, long driveway kind of thing, middle of nowhere. Yeah, is that where it's at?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with 3 brothers on the side of a mountain, so I mean that should tell everyone everything they need to know. And the plaid, that's probably a giveaway.
Giving it all away. There you go. There you go. There you go. So Cassie, we have a question we like to ask every single guest here on the show. It's a pretty important question. Okay. And you ready for it?
No, go for it.
All right. What is Cassie Adkins' morning routine? Not the polished version, not the one you want the audience to hear. What's the real one? And even if there is no routine, Keith, Johnny, Richie, we all are, we're curious here about what you do when that alarm goes off. Do you hit the snooze to get your ass out of bed? Do you roll over? What do you do?
I turn off the alarm. I check my phone.
Oh.
I see so I'm an early to bed human.
Okay, good.
So
good.
It's not uncommon to wake up to text messages that I got through my do not disturb mode. I check to see what's going on. I may or may not check LinkedIn.
Yes.
And then I get my ass out of bed. I go wake up the kids, get the dogs out, feed them. If I beat my husband out of bed, I make his coffee. Otherwise, I do the dishes from the night before because I am not that human that can't sleep if there's dishes in the sink. So there almost always are.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I put the dry dishes away. Keep the circus of kids. I give them time checks.
How many kids? How many?
2 girls, 11 and 13. Prayers.
Nice.
Welcomed.
I got girls too.
Keep them on check. They know, okay, guys, it's 6:15. They know what they should be doing it, by those certain increments. By 6:30, now that it's daylight savings, I am out letting the ducks out, the chickens out, and the turkeys.
Oh, you got a farm?
They're my babies.
Dude. Yeah.
That sounds like paradise. Are you a hunter?
So no, I went hunting. Funny story, kind of. It's sad. I went hunting when I was like 8. My dad took me because I have a killer shot. And so he's like, let's not waste this, right? So I get all the camo. I put the big orange hat on. I looked a little bit like Johnny with the big, oversized hat. I'm going out. I'm ready. It's like 15 degrees out. I get my gun. We're sitting in the little blind. Freezing my ass off. I can't feel my fingers. And the biggest doe I've ever seen in my entire life is right in front of me. So I put my gun up. I'm so excited. I swear to you, it was like the movies, guys. Okay. She looks right at me with the crosshairs on her forehead. I let go of my breath. I put my gun down and I looked at my dad.
Oh, couldn't do it.
So he pulls his gun up, right? Because he's like, I'm not letting this thing go. I gave him whatever look it was that I gave him. He let out his breath, put the gun down, and said, let's go home.
There you go.
Wow, that's quite a hunting story.
He knew I didn't shoot it. So from then on, I was banned from ever going hunting. But I helped.
Next time, he's not going to feed you for 3 days. He's going to make you go hungry.
I know.
And then next thing, you're going to look at the deer a whole different way.
I don't even like venison. I only like venison jerky. But so, I had to help butcher and do all the things after that. But I was never invited hunting again. I'm not really sure why. But so I don't hunt for that reason. Although I killed a raccoon that ate my chickens. Does that count?
Oh, that sounds like an interesting story. But Cassie, you work with tech entrepreneurs and you work with CEOs when you're not hunting raccoons and so forth. When you're not doing your stuff on the farm, you're working with entrepreneurs and CEOs during one of their most challenging moments. Yes. Merging teams and cultures. And I have been there, sold my company, and I know what it's like to do part of it.
I heard for about $5, right? You didn't make much on that deal.
A couple dollars. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I went
to keep stacking the zeros onto that 5.
Yeah. And then I went through divorce and started taking the zeros off the 5. So, but hey, that's just how life works. Cassie, break down the first move. When you step into a situation with competing priorities, I've been there. Misaligned leaders, misaligned values, mounting pressure. Cassie Adkins, What's the day one strategy when you sit down with those teams?
You air it out. You say the elephant in the room, right? You can't address what you don't speak on. So if my priority is to make $1 million in exit, well, that's a low number, but you know what I mean? Like if my goal is money and exiting and the other person's goal is to, scale and and all of these other things, let's say that. Because then we can work with that. Then we can find a compromise in the middle, or we can address those things. But if you're I hate people that hide things or are afraid to say what is their truth. So I force it out of people. I put everyone on the spot and it's like, what do you want? What do you like? And even at a team level, how a meeting is run, I make everyone air it out. What drives you nuts on an internal team meeting, guys? I hate people that are late. I hate people that are actively doing other work. I don't want a meeting before, my day starts, right? Let everyone know. And for me, I hate when people are late. Other people, they don't care when they show up. But if I don't like when people are late, guess what? We all bend to that and everyone shows up on time.
Oh yeah.
If one person doesn't like that people are then guess what? No one gets to do it.
I like this because we got a couple guys here on the show. So Richie comes from the military. Johnny has spent time in wrestling dressing rooms, bodybuilding rooms, strongman rooms with different cultures and different men. And I'm curious to hear their points of view on this. But Cassie, it's interesting to hear you say this because I remember having a meeting with a fellow a few years back and I had never heard this before. He said, Keith, I want to have an assumptions meeting with you. I'm like, an assumptions meeting? He goes, yeah, because I have assumptions about you. You have assumptions about me. Let's sit down in a room together and let's just put them on the table. I was like, holy fuck, that's brilliant. So we did. Because he's like, yes. I don't know you. And I have these, like I judge a book. We all judge book by its cover. So we came to the room and we had what he calls an assumptions meeting. His first meeting with everybody he works with, he sits down, he has an assumptions meeting to wipe out all assumptions with you and that person. Richie, you in the military, listen to some of the things Cassie has said, airing it all out, being part of units and so forth. Is that a common thing, Richie? Or is that like, fuck, I'm not airing shit out?
Well, it depends on the leader, right? But whenever I come into a situation where I have a new soldier that's reporting to me, whatever, the first thing we'll talk about is expectations, and I have it in writing. These are my expectations of you, and here's what your expectations of me should be. And then we have a discussion. It's a dialogue. It's not a one-way. It's not a one-way deal. And when we talk about meetings, yes, you have to set the culture for your own meeting. So I love what Cassie said. I don't give a shit when you show up. If I'm running the meeting, when I sit down in the chair, you better have a pen and paper out and ready to either brief me or us ready to fucking execute. Whatever. But yeah, I'm huge. I don't want to waste anybody's fucking time. And I love what Elon Musk says. He says, hey, look, he has set a culture of if you feel you're not getting anything out of this meeting, get up and leave. And that's completely the right thing to do.
Like, nobody looks
down to that guy.
I agree.
So, I love what Cassie said. I'm all about it. I want to join her team.
Yeah. Johnny, so I know you've been in the independent space, Johnny, but listening to some of the things Cassie said, he says, what do you lean into, John, when you hear this?
Well, I mean, in the shit that I've done, at the highest level of, strongman, bodybuilder and wrestling, to get there, you had to be pretty fucking honest. Because and so we all kind of come to that space where it's like, especially if like say in strength, if we're in a team competition, right? Well, we all know, what our strengths and weaknesses are. And as a team, we want to put the best person forward for each event. And so it's just like, my Achilles heel was my grip. My hand strength was my weakest part. So if it had something to do with, there was a competition. I was the captain of the Pan American team. And of course, they kind of looked to me to make decisions because I had been competing at the highest level, the longest out of the group. And there were plenty of times where I would not put myself first because I knew that one of my teammates could do a better job. And without that honesty, we wouldn't. I mean, we were just a hair away from winning the Team World Championship. And had we not been honest with ourselves and each other, we wouldn't have performed at the highest level. And so, I mean, honesty is kind of those things where, I guess to put it simply, if you want to make it to the top, you got to get fucking real honest real quick. Period. End story.
Cassie, you heard Richie here. You heard Johnny close this segment for us with a couple of closing comments from yourself, Cassie Adkins.
So what comes to mind for me is that it's not a one and done. You don't set expectations, exchange them, have that dialogue, and then never speak about it again. You don't share assumptions and then never speak about it again. You continue to have that dialogue. You continue to speak the elephant in the room. You continue to speak up and say, hey, that meeting wasn't helpful to me. Hey, why are we doing this? Checking in with your team. Hey, how does everyone feel about this? Is this a waste of your time? Is this helpful? Hey, how did you like when I did X, Y, and Z? How should we do this better? It's an engaging conversation that should never end. If you think you did it once and you're good, this is not the whole I told you I loved you once and I'll let you know if it changes situation, gentlemen. Okay, this is an ongoing discussion. And that's what I'll leave you with.
I love it. Hey, you're hanging out with Keith, John, and Richie and Cassie here, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. And hey, this time we usually have, it's called the See Marty Fit Tip, but Marty's off rock and roll with some old folks, Johnny. Richie out there in Virginia. So I am going to do the league segment. So Richie, we're going to walk off Cassie, Richie, and Johnny for a minute. I got a little bite here I'm going to drop for you guys. So Rich, Jimmy, you can walk these folks off the stage when you got a second here. Get rid of them, Jimmy. There you go. All right, so I got something I'm going to throw at you guys. It's called the League 100, and then so Jimmy, we're gonna walk off these two guys as well here. So there we go. Awesome. Okay, so listen. Usually we got to see Marty Fit Tip, and we created this break on the show so Johnny can go for a piss. That's exactly what we created, and now Rich is doing the same thing. So, but Marty's doing his thing. I got something for you guys that I want you guys to lean into. Fontana, you listening? Dugan, you listening? Nation, you listening? 100 men, 100 hours, one goal, success, life transformation. Listen, guys, when I was going through low points in my life, I adopted a new mindset, the business athlete mindset. I took 100 days and I changed my life. I went and climbed a mountain, helped myself through divorce, helped clean my head up. I broke it into 10 blocks of 10 days. And I gave myself one day within those 10 to fail, to invite rest, to invite recovery. And I took those 10 blocks and I knocked them off. 10 block, 10 block, 10 block. 100 days later, I was down 40 pounds, mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, more resilient, more fit. I had a new outlook on life and I crushed life. Last week, we announced the League of Business Athletes, the League 100, a program for you men, 10 men, one brotherhood, 100 days. Not everybody qualifies. Looking for your credit card, but we're looking for your attitude. So I invite you to check out the League of Business Athletes, League 100, www.bapl.ai/will you qualify. Jimmy, that's my segment. There we go. We got Richie and John back in the lab here. And of course, we have Cassie joining us here as well. Cassie Adkins, all the way from, did you say Virginia, Cassie? Is that where you're at?
I did.
Yes, Cassie joining us from Virginia here. So listen, we're going to continue a deep dive segment here. Felix, there's your sound cut for our next segment here. We're going to get into the science of engineering high performance teams. And most leadership training fails for one reason. They focus on managing chaos instead of transforming it. I'm going to tell you, Richie, Johnny, in my experience, a lot of the folks I work with, we have a habit as humans to always react. It's react. Man, if you're reacting, you've already lost. You got to find a way to be proactive. Today, you're going to learn the science behind systems that turn struggling teams into high-performing powerhouses. Cassie, let's start with something tactical. When you step into a merger situation, you're going into one today. Let's pretend you are. What's the first sign that tells you a leadership team is stuck in chaos? And then what patterns expose the problem before it explodes? Cassie Adkins.
So as silly as this sounds, the tense in which they're talking, if they're talking about past tense, what happened yesterday, what they need, again, it's in that reactive state. It's so telling versus today we've got da-da-da going on, or we need to make sure we X, Y, and Z to be prepared for. So the words that they use and whether they're referencing the past, the present, or the future. Because like you said, if you're busy putting out fires, you're certainly not in the present, and you sure as hell aren't in the future. You cannot merge two companies and live in the past. You need to be able to live in the present and very much view the future. So you have to stay ahead. You have to be able to be present and aware. You can't stick your head in the sand. You can't just ignore things. And you have to learn from what you are reacting to, right? If you have, there are going to be fires. So look at that fire and say, okay, how can I keep that fire from ever happening again? How can I be proactive so that that's not a fire that I'm dealing with? Because every fire we're not dealing with allows us to be present and looking to the future.
So this is great because this is tactical for both. I got a question actually for all three of you now, which is fantastic because I think this is a really, really good conversation to have. So Johnny was captain of a wrestling team and was captain. Richie was in the military.
That was a strength team, not a wrestling team, for the record.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Just playing.
Yeah. So Johnny, you got leadership teams. Richie, you got leadership teams. You got different cultures of coming together as a couple military units. Cassie's got a company over here, a company over here. Johnny's got guys over here, different cultures. The most important thing is competing priorities. This is common. What's the system for turning that chaos into alignment? And actually, I'm going to start with you, Rich. So you got two military units coming together, and you can look at them and you're like, holy fuck, their priorities over here, their priorities over there. How do you bring them together, Richie? And then I'll throw the same question to you, Cassie.
So I think the first thing you have to do is you have to build trust. And so with me, so I was actually brought in to take over a unit that they were just awful. And so when I went into each of the subordinate units, they had no idea what their purpose was, what their mission was. And it was a very important mission. They were there to support the drawdown of troops in Iraq. This was in 2011. And they had no idea. If they fucked that up, then we were going to have to delay troops because they were the most southern point coming down. So what I did was I went in and built trust. And so once I did that, then I can say, hey, look, here's how important your specific job is. This is what you're doing. And so from that point forward, once I built trust and they knew how important their role was and what they were doing and how much it mattered, they could care less about what they thought their priority was. It now aligned with what mine was and the rest of the team. So that in my experience, that's how you do it.
Cassie, it seems so obvious, so simple.
So I'm going to layer onto that.
Trust,
after
Cassie?
you can get them to trust you, you have to get them to trust each other. Because once they realize that at the end of the day, we are all humans. We are all likely, there's overlap in the goals and priorities. Maybe the how is different, maybe the who, what, where, when, all of those details. But at the end of the day, we all want to be successful. We all have our own definition of that. But that desire to be successful, to achieve greatness, to be corny, like that unifies teams. And if you can get people to, again, air it out and speak on what would be successful, you can then start to see how similar people are instead of dissimilar. And when you're similar, you build that trust and you begin to be vulnerable and transparent. And when you respect and trust someone, like Rich said, you somewhat forget about your priorities and realize that there's something bigger that you're aiming for, and that allows you to go in a uniform direction.
Johnny.
Yeah, so it's, I guess, to me, I like to boil shit down, make it simple. So it's a universal language that everybody, no matter where we're from, if we're trying to be successful, we all have to kind of buy into this. And it's the fact that there's a certain level us being in the present, right? So, but it's an interesting combo because we have to be a little bit in the past and a little bit in the future, but not so much, because what we need is right here. But we have to be in the future enough to make sure that we're planning the next steps, so the next bit of present goes smoothly. But we also have to get a little bit into the past to make sure that we learn from whatever mistakes we made. So there's this, you're just this little toggle.
Yes.
And when you keep everybody toggling right there, it unites people really fucking fast. And I think the key is that it's just the toggle. It's like to put it into like a number or a quantify. So you're never really more than, say, a half a step into the future, maybe 3/4 of a step into the future. So you can plan that next action or whatever it is. And you're never really more than about a half a step back into the past, because you just far enough back to learn, not go back to dwell on what might not have worked. And so you just got to kind of get that toggle down. And sometimes that toggle, if things are going really well, you might be taking a closer to a almost a full step into the future and barely a little into the past, because things are going so well moving forward. There's not much to look back to learn, but your toggle is based upon performance. And so you just got to kind of understand that. And people get way too engaged in one side or the next. They lose the present. Now the whole thing blows up.
Cassie, I can't help but think about Richie as Johnny's telling that story, because Richie is sitting with his team in Iraq and he's having to communicate with them what they need to think about over there, while at the same time remind themselves to stay safe and live today. And Richie, it really is that balance, isn't it, Rich? It's like you're having one side on each side of the line. So Cassie, when you hear John explain that, there's a lot of truth to how he explained it, isn't it, Cassie?
Yeah, and that toggle, right? We're gonna all go back to childhood for a minute. We all played on a seesaw.
Yes.
Okay, I had 3 brothers. We did a lot of seesaw. Now, it's all fun and games till someone gets hurt. Then it's just funny. But think about when you're on the seesaw, right? But who remembers, okay, picture yourself, you're on this seesaw. You don't weigh the same as the other person on the other side. So you've got to find, it's like this game to find the perfect balance of where you need to be on the seesaw lever to achieve balance. And then you achieve it and you get so fucking excited that you've achieved it that you move and you lose it.
That's
right.
And
then you have to regain it. Right. But every time that you move, because movement happens, you work to counter it. And if your brother is a jerk and decides to move back, you've got to react and counterbalance that mistake or that action to create balance. And that's what I pictured the entire time you were talking, John. It's just this,
it is. It's
working
totally a
with
seesaw.
Working with each other to create that balance. Because, and again, much like you said, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. There's going to be people on your team that are really good at executing. There's going to be people that are really good at the visionary piece. There's going to be people that function really well in the mornings. There's going to be people that are late night. Like, it is about finding how you balance on that seesaw together. And as things shift and change, everyone needs to likely shift, because if you're in la la land and you don't shift when everyone else shifts, as a team, as a unit, you're not balanced anymore.
That's it. Mm-hmm. You are hanging out with Rich, Johnny, Keith, and Cassie Adkins here. Mornings Alive with Keith and friends. And at this time here, Cassie, we start moving into the lifestyle segment. So Cassie, are you able to stick around for more of the show, or do you got to rock and roll out of here today?
No, I'm totally here. All
right, so Cassie's going to stick around with us, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm not going to say goodbye to Cassie yet. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do this. Yep. So Cassie, at this point in the show, I get off the stage, Rich gets off stage, you're going to get off stage, and we're going to invite the strong man, Johnny Anderson, up on stage. And John's going to leave something for you, me, Richie, and Business Athlete Nation to wrap their head around before we welcome AJ Zeglin into the lab. He's a mental performance coach, mind fuel guy. He's going to hang out with us for 15 minutes, all right? Johnny, get after it, brother. Let's do it, Jimmy.
Come on, baby. All right. Here's the question you got to ask yourself. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. You got to ask yourself this question. Would you choose you? Now, what am I talking about there? We're talking about a relationship, do you have the habits that brings the stability in your emotion, in your spiritual health, in your regular physical health, in your finances? Or do you have the habits that actually takes your life in a direction where maybe if you were choosing a mate, you wouldn't choose you? So ask yourself a question. Would you choose you? Because unfortunately, most people would choose a mate better than themselves. That being said, it's time to start taking your self-improvement very, very seriously. It's not just about working out. It's not just about eating right. It's about all areas of your life. It's time to start taking your self-improvement to the highest level, because if you wouldn't choose you, how do you expect that someone else will? Rock and roll.
Stuff. Go look in the mirror, nation. Get out of bed. Go look in the mirror. Yeah. Richie, go look in the mirror. Cassie, go look in the mirror. Would you choose yourself? If you choose yourself, you're on the right track. If not, as Johnny said, I would invite you, and John would invite you to maybe have a look in the mirror again at yourself and ask yourself why you wouldn't choose yourself. It's a great question. Man, that's a great fucking question, Don Anderson. All right. Hey, listen, we got this coming up here. Yes. The Mind Fuel guy, AJ Zeglin's joining us. Cassie, so AJ has worked with pro athletes, bunch of awesome human beings, celebrities, some of the greatest human beings on the planet, including myself. And he's helped us achieve some greatness. And AJ is joining us. He joins us every Tuesday and Thursday to talk about the power behind mental performance and helping us achieve our most audacious goals.
And he's also a deep cheek builder. Let's not forget that.
He's a deep cheek builder.
He's a builder of deep cheeks. Yes, he is.
And Cassie, we invite you when the show's over, or while you're hanging out with us this morning, we invite you to Google deep cheeks, and you might see all you need to know about that this morning. But we got AJ joining us here this morning, and AJ, Cassie has 3 brothers, and I said to you this morning when I was texting, I said, hey, when we do the show this morning, why don't we talk about some common themes that men come to talk to AJ Zeglin about when they're like, ring, ring. They're like, yeah, hey, I'm Joe, AJ, yeah. I need some help. What are guys most commonly, what's the most common reason men are coming knocking on your door these days, AJ, to say, I need to talk about stuff? AJ Zeglin.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple. Obviously, each person is their own individual case, right? But I would say most commonly, one would be anxiety, right? Just about, everything going on in their life.
Like just general anxiety, AJ, like just trying to find a way to control it. And I interrupt you because we talk about it often. We do on this show. You start your day and you're like, I'm anxious.
Right. Yeah. So it would be anxiety. I mean, everyone's going to be coming from their own background. Some of these people are high performers in business. Some of them are high performers in sport. Some of them, because we all have some type of performance aspect in our life that we want to do well at, right? Yes. We want to perform well at our job. We want to perform well as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a family member. We want to perform well in our sport or whatever our endeavor is. There is a performance aspect to everything, right?
Interesting.
So I'd say the anxiety, dealing with anxiety, and how to regulate that. And then I would say another big one is with their relationships. That's usually a huge one, right? Because it's a huge part of our lives. And it's one that a lot of men really struggle with just because, our culture hasn't done a great job, obviously, over the years, when we've been growing up to support men that are trying to, navigate their relationships, right? Like there's a certain amount of kind of bravado or whatever you want to say, like attached to it, where like, well, you're just supposed to suck it up. You're just supposed to not talk about your feelings. You're just supposed to, that type of thing. Obviously, eventually there's an accumulation of that over the years and it weighs on you. And then all of a sudden, you're in a relationship and you want it to be great and you want to bring your best to the relationship. But now you're in a place where you don't know how because you haven't been communicating openly and honestly. You've been making assumptions. You haven't always been bringing your best. You now are in a spot where you're taking everything really personally, and it all just kind of accumulates. So those are probably the two biggest things, and how they're managing their stress and anxiety, and then with their relationships.
Is it getting easier, AJ, for men to talk about anxiety? Are you finding, maybe this is a generational thing, but I'm really curious about this, because this is great because we talk about it all the time. I know yesterday, right, Johnny himself was maybe battling some of the stuff in the brain. I battle stuff in the brain every now and then. We talk about what Richie does, and it's like, it's
everyday thing, man. It's an everyday thing.
Yeah. So AJ, is it a generational thing, or how would you describe that, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's getting better. That's the goal.
Yes.
Right. That's why I have to think that you guys do what you guys do here every day, right? Is to make it better. And, I think just the way that our society operates, everything is one extreme or the other. And we often forget that two things can be true at the same time, right? I could talk about how I'm feeling and I could still be tough, or I can still be a man, you know what I mean? Or I can, and we often think that it's like one or the other. So like, okay, well, Keith's talking about his feelings today on how something has him really stressed out. I guess you got to go turn in your man card, Keith, and you're never, you know what I mean? And like,
and great timing this week, especially because we know the conversation happened all over the world, especially in America. It's if you voted one or you voted the other, you must not be tough. You must be something soft. Right. And that's what's unfortunate, isn't it, AJ? Because you can be both. And you know what? And I love this, AJ, because Cassie has 3 brothers.
Yeah.
Cassie, as you're hearing AJ talk, you're hanging out with a bunch of men right now. What are you hearing AJ say, Cassie?
Thank you for what you're doing with the male population, AJ, to show up and let men be both vulnerable and men is so important. Especially like with my worldview, right? I grew up on a mountain. So, we were shooting guns, we were hunting, we were fishing, we were chopping wood, we were, doing all of those things. And so, I kind of grew up as one of the guys, but like my dad is probably like the manliest man there is, right? The full beard and the burly.
Yes.
Whole 9. My oldest brother is not that man. Right. We always kind of grew up making fun of him because he was the black sheep. He was the black sheep, not because he did anything wrong, but because he was Metro, right? He cared what his hair looked like. He wanted to wear the Tommy Hilfiger pants, and he wanted to drive the Eclipse instead of a truck. And, because it was different, it was like, and there's still, he's totally embraced it at this point, It's like, the gay brother. He's not gay, guys. He's just Metro. He's got a kid. Like, he is straight.
He likes his creams. That's it.
He likes his hair gel and his cologne. But we're finally in a world where you can do your hair and wear cologne and like care. He literally spends more time getting ready in the morning than I do. But it's never been like, I grew up a tomboy. That was fine. Nobody judged me where people would judge him and say, there must be something wrong with you because you want to do your hair. Nobody said, Cassie, you didn't even brush your hair. What's wrong with you? So it's so refreshing to hear that this dichotomous thinking of this or this is being addressed, and that and absolutely exists because it is true.
And I got to jump in there real quick. When it comes down to it, I think what a man really strives to do is truly own himself, be unapologetic for who he is. I got called Metro when I was younger too. I used to take a lot of pride in my hair and how I looked, and my brothers and even friends would say, "Oh, you're Metro." Fuck yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna say something to hurt me, shoot where it hurts. Come on, is that all you got? I don't give a shit what you say. Yes, I love you and you love me, but because you have a title for the way that I present myself, that's supposed to fuck me up? Come on, man. Jesus Christ. Because I had realized this is who I am and I'm good with who I am. I'm going to go deeper into who I am. When a man does this, so much of this shit we're talking about just kind of it's like a fart in the wind. It just disappears.
Yeah. AJ, go ahead, Richie.
Well, no, I was just going to say real quick. You know, in the military, in the early years when I was in, there was a stigma associated with men getting mental health. And now, over the years, we even thought like, hey, you're not going to be able to get into those special units that you want if you go to mental health. Like, that's a black dot. But now we've seen that it helps performance, and we've changed the name multiple times. And so it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. At the end of the day, we know that getting, helping mental health is going to affect positively our performance. So if you want to do what you got to do to fucking succeed, dude, who gives a fuck about the stigma? We know that there's a positive association with it. So we're going to do what we got to do to be successful.
I got goosebumps from that, Richie, because you come from that background of the military. Johnny comes from a highly masculine world of wrestling and bodybuilding and strength. And then my buddy AJ, who again comes from a masculine world of athletics and professional sports. And Zeglin, you and I have talked over the years that there's no way you're going to perform if this is out of sorts, right? So back to the original question, right, AJ? I'm coming into you and saying I'm anxious. And I got to think the first question you're saying is, Keith, what's making you anxious? Is that really what it is?
Yeah, 100%. What's going on? And you know what? Let's not ignore it, right? The goal is not to
ignore it, right?
Like the goal is not to not feel anything. We sometimes think it is, right? Like the goal is not to be a robot and not feel anything. It is to feel it, be aware of what you're feeling, and then how do we regulate it? Because we got to perform, right? So, we got to perform, or we got to, bring our best to that day. So it's that, hey, I'm aware of this tension, this anxiousness, this nervousness, this stress. Okay, cool. This is how it's making me feel. Awesome. Now I take one of my tools out of my toolbox. This is how I regulate it. This is how I manage it. And then I go on and performing at my best, right? Because if you don't, there's someone out there that is not managing or regulating it effectively. Like Rich was just saying, you put those two people in a situation, in a competitive situation, if it's in business, if it's in sport, if it's in, his military background, that person that's able to regulate their emotions, they're going to stay in that sweet spot where they could just be a high performer, right? They're never letting their emotions or that stress get the best of them. So they got to be aware of it, acknowledge it, regulate it, and then perform.
AJ, does it still surprise you that in 2024, people might still come to you and think that you're just hooey-fooey? Or are we past that? People recognize, like Richie said, like, no, we know mental performance affects physical performance. Like, is that still a thing, AJ? Or you got guys coming up to you going,
yeah, you know what, you do. But here's the thing. Like, the important thing is that if people are coming with that, one, it's like they probably they're looking for permission to believe in it, right? They're looking for permission to acknowledge that it is something that can make a difference, that it is important. And like I work in a fairly female dominated field when I work in my mental health field, right? There's not a lot of guys and there's not a lot of younger men in the field. So I have a lot of guys walk in my office sometimes and they see you and they're like, oh, you look a little younger. Looks like you hit the gym. You're covered in tattoos. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, I'm in here with like a dude here. Like I can, and I'll just validate why they're there. And I'm like, yeah, man, I get it. Like you think this is a waste of time, or you think that this is made up, or you think that this makes you soft, and I just validate why they're there. And then all of a sudden they just kind of sink in and there's a comfort level and they see a part of themselves in you, that you're also a male and and then all of a sudden there's like a connection made. And the majority of the time, 5 minutes later, you're deep into a conversation and you can see that they've now started the process. Right.
Yeah. We are hanging out with AJ Zeglin, mental performance expert here on the Mindfield segment of Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. We're just going to wrap up this segment. We started off with a question to AJ, which was, what do most men coming into his office asking the question about? And as AJ said, often it's, I'm feeling anxious. I don't know how to, I'm going to put a word in your mouth, AJ, but I'm stuck. I just don't know how I'm feeling. Yeah. Give somebody in 60 seconds or less, they're thinking it right now. They're starting their day. They're battling this feeling they can't put their finger on. What would you tell that person right now, AJ?
Yeah. Say something. You know, when it's just stuck in our own mind, it's in a part of our brain, we can't do anything with it. And then those negative thoughts and emotions, they just build and build. It's a slow accumulation to the point it becomes overwhelming. As soon as we physically speak it, just say it, get it out in some capacity to anyone. All of a sudden, now that those negative emotions, it moves to a different part of our brain. And now we're like, hey, this is challenging, but this is a solvable problem. I'm in problem solving mode now, right? So just say something and then get moving, right? We got that great saying that action absorbs anxiety, right? So when we get moving, now we're, you know, all our neurotransmitters, the endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonin, the norepinephrine, all these neurotransmitters get dumped into our system because we've taken action. That's how our body helps regulate that stress internally, right? So say something and then get up and move. And, you know, it's a good first step.
That is actionable advice from AJ Zeglin here this morning on the Mindful segment. Gentlemen, if you're waking up, starting your day right now, I see you. I've been there. Johnny's been there. Richie's been there. AJ's been there. Cassie's been there. You're feeling like you got this feeling you don't know what you should do. You heard AJ. Go say something. Maybe go talk to your AI. Go maybe journal. But get it off your brain. And then the other thing we got to do, AJ, right, is get moving. Right? Movement creates momentum. Action. What is it, AJ? Action removes anxiety?
Action absorbs anxiety.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, listen, you can find AJ Zeglin on LinkedIn, on Instagram. You can find him. Come connect with me in the lab. If you're looking for some help with what's happening up here, I invite you to go connect with AJ Zeglin. And AJ, before you leave, man, Jack Dugan, who I've told you about, is a big fan of our show here. Mental health's the real thing. No shame in seeking health. And he also pumps in and says the services AJ provides are so valuable. If men can be courageous and honest, we can get some real help and make us better. And AJ, as you know, Jack is on a journey, down 40 pounds, hanging out with us every single morning. Exactly. Hanging out with us every single morning. And we love Jack's commitment to himself, most importantly, and also commitment to hanging out with us here on the show as well here. So, all right, Zeglin, you have a good day, buddy. You got a big day planned ahead of you here today?
I got a busy day in the gym, man. And then I got a whole bunch of people in the clinic in the afternoon. So yeah, I'm excited about my day.
Awesome. You have a good one, pal. We'll see you on
Thank
Tuesday.
You, AJ.
Take care, AJ.
Thanks, guys. Great to see everybody. Nice to meet you, Cassie.
The chief of Mind Fuel, AJ Zeglin. And hey, right now we usually do what we call personal brand with Christina Flynn, but she's out. Oh, you guys don't want to know where Christina is? Here, let's do this. Yeah, there's Christina right now. Christina's dealing with that right now this morning. So Christina Flynn is busy being a mom right now. That's your brand bite. We are here, the second hour, Mornings Alive with Keith and Friends, the Morning Loop Reloaded. And Cassie, this is the bagpipes. Usually we put the kilts on, and you're a house of brothers, man. I'm just thinking maybe Dad and all the boys had kilts on. Yeah, we kilts are hanging out here on the live here this morning. And I have a segment, considering what we just came out of. Morning Loop Reloaded. I got a topic that's going to be awesome. 25 men reveal the things they truly enjoy that are considered to be unmasculine. And I'm telling you, it's going to be eye-opening. And with Cassie on stage here with us, three brothers, Johnny and Richie. Richie comes from the world of the military. Johnny comes from the world of bodybuilding and strength and wrestling. And I got to think, masculinity is everywhere. Well, we're going to talk right now about a number of things that men reveal that apparently society might think is unmasculine. And the first one on this list.
Real quick, brother, hold on. I just got to jump in. That's the fucking problem right there, is they're worried about what society thinks. So if you want to fucking do something and you enjoy it, who gives a shit? I say all the time, I'm a fucking woman trapped in a man's body, goddammit. You want to call me a bitch? Go right ahead.
That's why I love having you here.
I like to do some fucking fruity shit, and you're gonna tell me it's fruity, and I'll say yes, you're right. Get the fuck out of my way so I can keep doing it,
dude. So I grew up that term Metro too, right? And so Cassie, Richie, Johnny, I grew up so dad, uncles, and brothers, probably very similar to your dad, Cassie, right? Blue collar and very, and I was in the kitchen baking cookies with my mom. Right, I was worried about my hair. I was worried about new kids on the block. I wasn't worried about the shit happening out on the mountainside. So I can relate to the Metro stuff. But guys, here's the first one. All right, what people think is unmasculine. Number one, skincare. Oh, you take care of your skin.
Oh, fuck yeah. I've put lotion on my fucking skin when I get out of the shower since I've been fucking like 10 years old.
Well, that's why you look so
fucking
handsome.
Day.
That's why you look so handsome, my friend.
But it feels good.
Okay.
Rubbing that shit all over myself, you know.
Here's the next one, because as I was
the visual, John.
Yeah. Here's the next one.
And even better. It has to be done just right. You don't really dry yourself off, you blot, because you want just enough moisture left on the skin so the lotion traps it in. This is how we do this shit. And it has to be a good lotion. It can't be that nasty fucking lotion that feels like you just got done fucking sweating. You know, it's got to be that lotion that soaks in. There's a method to this madness for sure. And is it, you want to call me a bitch? Please do. Not saying you guys.
Skincare advice with John Anderson, Richie Rich. All right, number two of activities that men do that are considered not manly. Richie, crocheting and knitting.
I was taught that by my fucking grandma when I was probably 9 years old, and I was a crocheting motherfucker. I just ran at a time. When sports came along, I found myself playing Little League rather than fucking. I used to go to my grandma's house. We would do that shit watching Days of Our Lives. It's a soap opera.
Yes.
Yeah. Came on right before All My Children.
Yes, Richie.
So you know, my dad worked a lot, so I spent a lot of time with my mom, and she'd have to go to whatever the crochet sewing store is. And the only way she could get me to behave was she would let me pick out my little, you know, it has a wooden circle, and you put your thing on there, and it's color coded.
Yeah.
And so and you have your thread, and then it was perfect because I was a good kid. I behaved because I got something, and then when we got home, all I was doing was trying to sew it was like putting a puzzle together, but it was just needlepoint, really.
Yeah.
You know, so she was onto something.
And so, you know, throw sewing right in the whole fucking thing. I can sew with my hand. I can sew with a fucking machine. Come on, maybe.
Well, and Richie, you
had to sew.
Yes. Okay. All right. This is so Cassie commenting on this. You know, the woman full of brothers here. Are we down the right track right now, Cassie?
I mean, I think it's hilarious. John, I love you.
I know.
You know, if I ever need a third husband, I'll let you know. But like, it's just, it makes me think of my Metro brother, right? The older one. He doesn't know how to sew, ironically.
Art crafts kind of stuff that, you know, other men.
He's missing out, man. He's missing out.
He paid my 13-year-old daughter $10 a button to sew pants on, like buttons on his pants. And I'm hoping he never finds this because he'll figure out how simple it is to sew on a button and realize that he got totally scammed out of $40 for about 5 minutes worth of work.
Hey, we're talking about different things that men reveal that society thinks that are not masculine. Real
quick, do we need to skip down the list to get to something that actually is going to be that one of us hasn't been doing our whole lives, or is this?
Well, okay, yeah, maybe I will. Okay, here, let me find one here for you. How about man? So the funny thing is I'm in tune with all of these, and I'm suspecting you guys are as well. But I got.
This is good because it's just showing men that it's okay to do whatever the hell you want with your feminine side. And we all have male and female living in us. You embrace the female side of you is the question.
You know, it's interesting.
Women love feminine energy.
Oh, there you go.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
guys.
There you go.
You macho men that are listening, that are ignoring your feminine side, you're probably single.
All right. Next one: growing flowers, gardening. That seems kind of masculine to me. I don't know if that's very soft. Like growing flowers, like Richie, looking at you, brother. Is that something you think is okay for men to do? Growing flowers?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. When you talk about like that is one of the most, like, meditation is a way to practice mindfulness, but so is gardening, dude. I got to tell you, I don't know. I rented a house in college, and I asked the landlord, I was like, "Hey, can I strip out all these nasty fucking bushes?" I was 20 years old. I stripped out every one of those fucking bushes, and like, we didn't have Google back then, so I don't know how. I think I bought something at Lowe's to tell me how to like put newspaper down. And dude, I was. It was fun, man. Like, it was a good time, and then you're proud of it. Like, hey, get off my flowers, and you're like,
my wife and I just got done planting some bougainvilleas, in our house in Mexico.
Bougainvilleas.
I don't know what that is, but it's fun.
You and me know you exactly, Richie. All right, the next
growing your own vegetables. That's another thing, because now you get to reap what you sow, right? Like, it's it's fruitful.
Yes.
No
All right. The next one on our list is fun because Nation's getting a chance to get to know Richie, Johnny, and Keith here a little bit. Cassie, here's one for us. Men who braid hair are not masculine.
You tell that to all the girl dads that are making videos and showing their sweet, soft, feminine side by braiding their daughter's hair. And then fast forward in 20 years when they have the best relationship with their daughters that anyone has ever seen in their entire life. And tell me.
I braided plenty of heads. I can honestly say I never got that fucking good. I couldn't make it tight, but I could get it done.
Well, I'm sure Richie might have a problem braiding hair because he's got the one arm, but I'm sure that
I bet he could figure out how to do it.
I was just gonna say, Johnny, I know that if somebody's gonna figure it out, it's gonna be Rich Ingram who's gonna be braiding his kid's hair.
I like what Duggan said. I'm with Duggan on the pedicures. I saw you highlighted.
Oh, yeah. You and me both, my friend. I'm there with you as well. All right, so hey, this one we talk about often on this show.
Pedicures all the time.
Yes. Oh, fuck. I love pedicures, man. I can sit there and fall asleep.
Keith,
a good foot massage.
I'm realizing something.
Yeah.
All of the things on your list, except for gardening, are things you don't do.
Things that you don't do?
Pretty sure. I mean, I know how to sew, but like, yeah, you guys are making me feel very masculine.
What's your husband's name?
Devin.
Yeah. Oh, so Devin's doing all these things instead, Nation. That's good. That's good. All right. Next one on the list. And so this one we know, but I'm glad this one comes up here because this one here is as much maybe rooted in maybe too much of the past. But this is an obvious one because we know we support this on the show. And I'll just state it right now. Men who don't cry and don't express emotion, you guys got it all wrong. I just really can't say more than that. I know that Johnny expresses emotion in crying and love because we do it together. I know Richie does as well. I know Marty does. So men, you heard AJ. If you're feeling anxious and you're kind of questioning your emotions today, let it out. Let it out.
Here's the thing. There's a good and there's a cry from a positive and a say a negative emotion. And a positive cry, a happy cry is fucking magical.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I had a happy cry with my kids, and it was just like, it's just like this pouring of emotion that's coming out, and it's you. But you keep in mind, you have to understand. Like my kids clearly understand the difference between the two, because so many people they think cry is bad. No, there's good and there's bad in terms of the emotion or what's it attached to. So I think that someone that doesn't understand the difference, A, and B, someone who hasn't actually experienced a happy cry is missing out.
Richie, thoughts on this, brother?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. I don't like force a cry or anything, but dude,
but it's ready to come out. It's coming.
Have you ever seen some of those? They're like disabled sports and the children, and ESPN will do like these specials on these kids.
Yes.
And like they put all the music behind.
Yes.
I fucking can't help it, man.
Yes.
I get teary eyed, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. It's not like I can help it. I'm not like trying to hold anything back. So. Man, I'm with John. John always says, man, you just got to be honest. I'm not trying to hold anything back for society or our culture or whatever the fuck it is. We just are, man. Like that's it.
Richie, and that's why you're here, man. As I've gotten to know you and I got to know that's why that's why you guys are here. Because you guys were all drinking the same Kool-Aid, and that's why we're building this show. All right, next one, cocktails. Guys, go have a cocktail. Actually, go have a mocktail. Keep the alcohol. Go have a mocktail. But it's okay. Go have a mocktail. Go have something that is going to make you feel good. Hey, next one. Cuddling and subtle acts of love. Gentlemen, if you're going to cuddle with your partner or your wife or show some subtle acts of love, that's awesome. I know John and I talk about it all the time. I know, brother. Go ahead, pal.
I'm telling you, listen, for all of you out there, your wife, your girlfriend, whoever it is, maybe even your mom, if she's having a rough day, a rough situation, don't say a fucking word. Just literally, even better, I'm going to tell a story. This is perfect. So my wife and I, it was my middle daughter's graduation, and she put on this fucking amazing graduation party. And there was, anyway, it's over and we're basically walking to our car because we're going to go to another graduation party. That's kind of what you do. Everybody comes to one party, you go to the next one. And she was just kind of like exhaling. I could feel her emotion. So we're walking across the street and we're jaywalking. That's me. A lot of times I'll just fucking run to the middle. And so we're in the median, right? And cars are fucking going. And she's all stressed out for the party, stressed out right there. So I just fucking grabbed her and we just started dancing right in the middle of the street.
Oh,
right? Just took it all away. Gave her a fucking dip right in front of all the fucking cars. And the best part is one of my daughters saw it and filmed it. It was fucking beautiful. I mean, I wasn't doing it for the effect of getting caught on camera, but what it did was it took all of her, whatever it was, and just melted it away because we got lost in that moment. And it was just this kind of random, what's the word I'm looking for? When you do something sporadically, it's it's just this boom, and it just changed everything. So, I even make videos about this. Just give her a little dance.
It's true.
In the kitchen, in the garage, in the middle of the street, wherever. Just spontaneous. That's the word. Just spontaneously give her a dance.
And I would invite you guys to follow John Anderson on Instagram to get that kind of advice, man. He's always dropping nuggets, him and Terry. And you know what the great thing is, Richie and Cassie, you see a video from John, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And I bring it up, not I'm just calling John on purpose because I hang out with Johnny here, but if you see a video from somebody who's doing something with their wife or their partner, take something from that. I take it from John all the time. Like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. We are talking things that men truly enjoy that are often considered to be unmasculine on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends, hanging out with myself, John Anderson, Rich Ingram, and Cassie Adkins this morning. Christina Flynn is hanging out with her little child right now who does not have the soother pacifier. I'll flip a video on in a few moments to show you guys what she is up to. But hey, the next one here on the list, and here's what we're going to do, Jimmy. We're going to wrap the segment up in about 2 minutes, and then we are going to continue. We're going to throw an AMA on stage with Rich Ingram. So if you guys tuning in right now, wondering who Rich is, Rich has been joining the show. He's on the show here, spending more time with us. He's a fucking superhero. Yeah, Richie Rich is a superhero, so we're going to spend some time just throwing him on the, just going to throw a bunch of AMAs at him. But hey, next one, guys, poetry. People still judge men who are poets, who like to create poetry for their lovely bride. I love words. I love poetry. John Anderson, talk to you about poetry for your
there's, for me, poetry is just trying to make some shit rhyme, but it doesn't make a difference. It's just, she knows that I put the effort into writing this poem. And when it comes down to it, it's the thought that counts in that right there. So does my poetry suck? I'm sure it does, but it's not about, is it good? It's about the thought. It's about the intention. It's about the love that you're trying to convey to the person that you're writing the poetry for.
Yes.
Well, and I also think that the poetry is the one piece of literature that you see a blend of art and math. Because to me, to make because poetry is like putting a puzzle together. So you have you have to have, and depending on what kind of style of poetry you're looking at, it is mathematically, you're like, okay, how do these pieces put together? But then artistically, how do I put these pieces together? So I think poetry is amazing. It really is.
Yeah, I would agree. My poetry, I would say, jumps around. I don't have the skill to keep it all in one vein if it's going to rhyme.
Well, I don't either. That's why we have AI now. Like
there you go. So for the mom, for the female, for the wife on the show, Cassie, is Devin dropping poetry for you? Is that making Cassie feel pretty good when Devin gets behind the pencil or the pen? Give us your POV on poetry from wife's standpoint.
As someone that's never received it, I'm sure it's got to be fantastic, right? Now, I mean, I'm thinking about how much I love a sweet. So my husband works in a secret lab because of security, whatever stuff. So he has to email versus text. And I'll get like a cute email that says like, hey, just stopping by, saying hi, thinking about you. Hope you're having a good day. Doesn't rhyme, not poetry, still love it. So
those little things go a long way, man. Absolutely. Just to know that he's thinking about you.
Richie, you get out of here, brother. I see your note. Yeah. So listen, next thing.
30 seconds.
Yeah, Rich is stepping in for a quick one. Okay, next one, guys, on the list here before we continue with Richie, with a little bit of AMA here. But Johnny, Cassie, long, relaxing baths. Men who have long, relaxing baths apparently are judged by society as being too soft and feminine. Johnny, I got to think, brother, you love to sit back in your tub and just soak the cheeks.
You know, when my wife and I first got together, when we were obviously where she had her own house, I had mine, she had this big tub. And when I would come back from the road, we would basically she would get it ready. She would basically have a bunch of candles in there and make a big, sudsy tub. And we would just sit in there and just chill 100%. In our current house, we don't have that was a big tub, but now we're basically hot tubbers, which is, kind of a different variation. But I am so not afraid of getting in a big sudsy tub with my lady. I mean, goodness gracious, not only relax, but a lot of other fun shit can happen in that environment. So come on, fellas,
Yes, exactly. Go jump in the tub with your partner. Cassie, is Devin a tubber? Does Devin like to go sit in a tub?
Every single night of his life.
Oh,
there we go.
There you go, Devin.
I don't take baths. If it were up to me, I could have a house full of showers, but the big tub is 100% for him. And
Richie.
Can I share a really touching story?
Please.
So when I was a manager at a startup, we did catharsis hour once a month. So we would get together, someone would run this hour and have some sort of activity, something. Well, one of my reports had said, hey, I want to run it. So we get on and he says, okay, now everybody, it's a team of mostly women and a couple of guys. And they said, okay, we're all going to take the next hour to go do something relaxing. And then we're going to come back the last 5 minutes and share what that was. You have to promise to do something relaxing, right? You can't work or whatever. So we all get off, we come back, and my colleague David spent that 50 minutes taking a bubble bath.
And
David. Every single female on this, there's like 15 of us, right? So there's like a dozen when we're all like, why didn't we think of this? Like da da da. And it was just so freaking refreshing to have this guy be like, yeah, I spent the last 15 minutes taking that. What's up? And I'm like, thank you. So thank you, David.
So men, bubble baths are accepted. Go jump in the bath, man. And as Johnny said, go invite your partner. Richie, are you a bath person?
Yeah, I was in the bathroom, so I grabbed this. I heard y'all talking. But again, a lot of the things that are on this list, I do for performance, right?
Yes.
Like I'm not creaming my body up with lotion because I want to like look great or anything, which I think I'm no judgment. But I have these fucking calluses on my feet, dude, that if I don't, my feet just fucking crack, So it's like I do all this stuff and it's like, oh, Metro motherfucker. I guess I don't fucking know. But like,
well, Richie,
it's great.
Don't worry, brother. I'll own the other side. I lotion up because it feels good.
Hey, look.
That's it.
No judgment. I don't care. Yeah.
With the good lotion.
Yeah. Well, hey, they invented lubricant.
When you're not totally dry, you got to dab dry, then put these. You want the skin to still have the moisture on it, so the lotion traps the moisture inside.
Well, that's right. And they did invent Lubriderm for a reason, right? There's a reason for Lubriderm. There absolutely is. And I'm telling you, Cassie, you've missed some of the conversations where
you're not putting Lubriderm on. You're not fucking putting that shit on my body. Let me tell you what, brother. That's fucking low rent lotion right there.
He's apothecary only.
I can't even touch that one. I'm not gonna touch it.
You shouldn't.
No, we could cut this up, Jimmy, with what is Uncle Keith touching when it comes to John Anderson, but
walk away, Keith. Walk
away. All right. So listen, this whole segment's gone off the rails here, and here's my goal. My goal here is we're gonna take a number of minutes here. I'm looking at yes, Jimmy, we have gone overtime in the segment. That's okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna reset up this last 5 minutes of this segment, and what I want to do is this: we're gonna put Richie on stage. We're going to do a rapid fire. Cassie's got a question for Richie. Johnny's got a question for Richie. Bilous has got a question for Richie. And then we're going to see how much time we have left before we work towards wrapping it up and go to the Creator Spotlight and Community Corner. So, Cassie Adkins.
I gotta be at it roughly at 6:30, brother. So we got fairly tight with that.
So then,
you go first.
Johnny, you start a pal. Question for Richie, brother.
Hot seat.
When did you cut off that amazing Rico Suave hairdo?
When I was running in 110 degree heat with 80 something degree or 80 something whatever humidity in the middle of Austin, Texas, it was hurting my performance. I was doing everything I could throughout Copenhagen, fucking shave my body, whatever I needed to do to make shit happen to increase performance. That was it, man.
Did you do it in the race or prior to the race?
Prior to the race, because it's all about training, man. I was up above 10,000 feet for the race, but I'm growing it out again because y'all made me feel bad. But I also just missed. I missed.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
The other thing that I missed is, eating a big egg hamburger and having that fried egg just all over my beard, so I could smell it the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Well, here's what we're gonna do. Once you get that hairdo back, we're gonna get a wig for me, and we're gonna Rico together one day.
Yes.
Oh man, I would love it.
I love it. Cassie, before I come to you, Johnny, I know you got a rock and roll, brother. Highlight for you on today's show, pal.
Goodness, it's a great show. Our shows are just so good. I honestly, I really like this segment where we were kind of breaking down, what males are afraid to do because of what society or other people think. And when it comes down to it, I think we raced down the list and we were partaking in all that shit. So for you guys listening, if you're afraid to do something, it's, don't be limited by, don't let yourself be limited by other people's small-mindedness.
That's
who
what
gives
it
a
is.
shit what people think. You be you and own that shit.
That's what it is. All right, Johnny Anderson's getting on with his day. He's got a big day ahead of him. Anderson, you go have a good day, pal.
John. See you, man.
Right on. Pleasure to meet you, Cassie.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Anderson. All right, pal. Hey, Jen Laughlin, I see you here in the comments. Reacting is our default unless we teach ourselves something different. Awareness is how it's done. Good to hear you and good to see you in the comments here, Jen. So Richie, I got a question for you, my friend, before we wrap it up here. So Jack Dugan and some of our listeners right now don't know who Richie is. So Rich, let's back it up right from like the first moment. You are a United States what? Navy, Army, Marines. What were you? What are you? And what did you do in Iraq? Richie.
Okay, so I started off while I was in college. I was in the National Guard, and so my National Guard unit, while I was enlisted, deployed to Iraq in 2005. And so I was a battalion scout. That meant that my platoon was the eyes and ears. We were doing reconnaissance, sniper posts. We call them LPOPs, listening posts, observation posts for our combat arms battalion. And that's when I lost my arm. It was in an area known as the Triangle of Death, southwest of Baghdad. So I was forced to retire and then, started getting into the sports. And I said, man, fuck you guys. I want to go back in. I'm not staying out. And so some things happened. I came back in as an active duty Army officer. I was an engineer officer. And so I served 3 more tours between Iraq and Afghanistan. So I did everything from combat engineer, from doing route clearance, like looking for bombs and stuff in Iraq, to horizontal engineering. So building roads, patching up roads. So I was responsible. Basically, I was a program manager, and each of the platoons were project managers. And so I managed them. And then in my last deployment, man, you name it, I was fucking doing it with the Adkins. I lived with the Adkins, man, and I loved it. They would come find me out on an operation, and they called me commander, which like touched my heart, right? Like that meant cool, I know. That's deployment, man. I was pulling I'll never forget, me and a first one, we found this IED, and we're like, man, because I started blowing shit as a captain, blowing shit myself, because it takes your explosive ordnance guys so long to fucking get there. I mean, you could be sitting there all day. So I was like, man, fuck this. You guys, I told the infantry guy, you get me some fucking C4, like I'll take care of all this shit. And I just started blowing shit fucking left and right. Me and this person would come up with an idea. He was like, yeah, it's a fucking ID. So I just put my hook down like that's, it's a fucking, we would both die. And I just pulled this motherfucker up out of the ground. I was like, all right, we got it. C4 and boom. I could say that now, but that we would have been in a lot of fuck ton of trouble if they knew what was going on back then. But yeah, man, we were fucking shit up. I had the time of my life, and to all the soldiers, you know, that are out there, like, man, I salute you. There's no more honorable profession than what you guys do.
I agree. And Cassie, before I throw the question to you, and I'm going to use the word. I met Richie on my show, Cassie Live in the Lab. We had a chat, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, and I fell in love with the guy. I did. I couldn't forget our conversation. I couldn't forget the things he talked about. I couldn't forget his story, and it stuck with me. So as I was starting the show, Cassie, I'm like, okay, I got to get that guy. So as I was starting it, building up the platform, and then I was like, hey, Richie, I want you to come hang out with us, man. Because if you start your day and you have no reason to be inspired, like honestly, you know. So, and I'm gonna tell you something, Cassie, that moved me. So Richie shows up back in America after he loses his arm. He's in the hospital. I hope I'm doing the story justice, Richie. And he's recognized that life's going to be different. Richie's a big fly fisherman, loves fly fishing. Mom comes to the hospital. And we heard Richie's mom's boy. If I can say that, Richie loves mom.
I love my mom.
Cassie, what does Richie's mom bring him?
A fishing rod.
Exactly. And you know what? This guy has an edge over you and I because he enters a room like MacGyver, looking to solve problems that you and I can't even see. It's fucking brilliant, man. Like I'm telling, I get goosebumps because this guy, John, this guy makes me better because I think of like I just, you know. So when I hear stories about like the things that Rich does, and I want to talk about Rich because Jack Dugan is here looking for inspiration. We got Good Time Adam is here. You know, there's folks that are tuning in right now that or they're looking to start their day and they don't know how to get their day started. You've heard Cassie's story, you heard John's story, you heard Richie's story. I got a little bit of a story. Like, fuck, man, if you can't be inspired by Rich Ingram's story, like, you gotta just go fucking turn the channel off. Go somewhere else. Honest to God. Cassie, what do you hear when you hear Richie tell his story? And what's the question you would have for Rich Ingram this morning?
When I hear your story, I'm beyond grateful and inspired.
Yeah.
My question for you, which I've struggled to compose, I think it really comes down to a very simple question that is likely not easily answered. But how did war change you?
Oh, good question.
So I don't think that's difficult for me. So my heroes were always, you know, I read books, Rangers in Korea, Rangers in Vietnam. I don't know how many books I read, and those were always my heroes. I go back to thinking of D-Day. Guys that are charging fucking beaches being shot at under direct fire. You know, the Rangers that scaled cliffs on Point de Hoc being fucking shot at under direct fire. I'm getting chills thinking about those motherfuckers. And I wanted to be that. I wanted to go and fight like that. Like those guys I put on a pedestal. And so every time that I deployed, I was chasing that. I was trying to, and whether it was a test for me or it's just that I knew that was an honorable thing. Like that I didn't know what else to do other than like, hey, I can go do this. I know that I'll be good at this. So I went chasing fucking war. And so for me, the PTSD and the post-traumatic, it wasn't from seeing too much shit. It was for not getting enough of it. Like I look back and I say, I didn't do enough. I didn't get into enough fights. I wanted fucking more, and that has been a struggle for me, not the other way around. It's been a struggle for me that I didn't do enough. That I you know, and it to this day, you know, I still think there's a story that is in Rangers. I think it's Rangers in Korea because back then the battalions, the regiment wasn't set up the same, and so they had a couple companies were on trains going to fight, and so they were mixed in on this train with regular infantry guys, and all of a sudden at one stop they heard the war was over, and guys started crying. Regular infantry guys the difference was the regular infantry guys were crying because they got to go back home. The Rangers were crying because they didn't get to go fight. They didn't get to go help their brothers that were going charging fucking hills under direct fire. And this is in fucking Korea. As soon as we passed that parallel, Chinese were coming down like ants, like we had just got over an anthill, and they continued to push forward. Because it was all about the guy left and right of them. And that's why they did it. And I mean, I get teared up thinking about that because I wanted that. And that's why I think, when I got the orders to deploy as a college kid, I was the happiest motherfucker you've ever seen. You've never seen a happier college kid. Because I signed up to go to fucking war, not to get a bonus, not for fucking retirement, to go to fucking war because that's what you do to represent your country. And it's loyalty. And I'll get off that soapbox. I know I get passionate about it, but that's how war changed me.
Richie, thank you for that. And I'm going to I'm looking for a strong word here. I'm going to implore you never to not have that passion. Please. Like that passion, man, please always bring it, because that's what's most important. And Cassie, I got to tell you something. Rich Ingram, Mark Boer, and Joseph Malone, 3 gentlemen that I've had the pleasure of having on my shows and getting to know over the last year or so. All warriors, all from the United States military, all said the same thing to me. Mark got injured, with Shaken Mark, and Richie, he got injured, and he confessed to me, he's like, Keith, I'm fucking sad and angry that I couldn't go back to war to fight. Right? It's like, I wanted to go and fight. I wanted to go and stand up for my country. And then I have Joseph Malone with Shaken Joe, another fucking warrior, big fan of Joe. Richie, his buddy who was struggling with life, is like, I'm going to the military, and he's like, you can't go by yourself, man. I'm going with you. So like that, so when I see Adam here in the comments saying crazily willingly going to no man's land, and the adrenaline junkie and those and you putting your balls on the line, Richie, like I got nothing but respect for that. And Cassie, great question, right? Because I don't know how it works, but when I hear the passion coming out of Richie's voice, I just know that I have to stand next to that kind of passion. I'll stand behind that passion, because that's the kind of leadership that I want to be around. You know what I'm saying, Cassie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Leadership is only as valuable as the people willing to follow you. And if no one's following you, you're not a leader.
That's right. That's right. Hey, you're hanging out with Keith, Cassie, and Rich Ingram here. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. We're wrapping up the show here. We're going to get to the community corner segment. We're going to take the next 5 minutes here to celebrate somebody. Rich, you got to rock and roll, or can you hang out? Or do you got to stay? You got to roll? I
got to rock and roll, man. Gotta
all right, brother. Work. You get after it. Richie, good to have you here, pal. Cassie, you got to rock and roll as well.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Cass can hang out with me. Rich is going to take off, bro. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay, pal?
All right. Bye.
Take care, bro. All right, so Rich is out of here. Cassie Adkins is hanging. Hey, we called it Keith and Friends for a reason, because people are coming and going and just dropping into the lab and having good times. Cassie, are you having fun so far? It's been a good show so far?
I'm having a blast. And it's so funny, because when AJ said that action absorbs anxiety, if you remember, I started this show saying that I was a ball of anxiety.
Yes.
And through the action, I have no more anxiety.
Just putting the reps in, right? And I know when I told you to come, when we invited you to the show, this is unlike anything I'm suspecting you've experienced before.
Yes, and it's the best because of it.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's keep going here. So this part of the show. So Jimmy, producer Jimmy, who's on the buttons, Cassie. So right now, around this time of the show, even though we're running behind, we do what we call the creator spotlight. We take somebody over on LinkedIn, and we take the big old Mornings in the Lab light, like I like to do, and take the light and shine it on them, and then celebrate that person like a motherfucker. Yeah. And then usually we surprise them, because they have no idea we're about to celebrate them and create content for them and put it on the platform. So today, boom, today we're going to feature a fitness marketing strategist. Now, Cassie, this creator is helping fitness professionals tap into the booming over 50 market. Fuck, I wonder who that is. A powerful yet often overlooked demographic. Yeah, I'm 52. True story. Yeah. Oh, yeah. An advocate for active agers, this creator has expertise and focus. He helps fitness pros better position themselves to reach the over 50 audience and grow their business. He's the founder of Active Age Marketing. Through his company, he delivers tailored branding and marketing strategies to help fitness pros connect with this thriving market. Today's creator spotlight from Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends, and today specifically Keith and Cassie, is Jimmy. Drum roll, please. Yeah, good job, Cassie. It is Craig McBreen. Yes, Craig. Woo, baby. All right. So listen, nation, why are we celebrating Craig Breen here today? Listen, Craig brings the business athlete energy. Craig approaches fitness marketing with precision and focus, helping professionals align their branding with the needs of the over 50 demo. He's transforming an overlooked market. He shines a light on the potential of active ages. Good term, Craig. Great term. And helps fitness pros capture the attention of this growing and ready to invest audience. He inspires strategic growth. Craig, through active age marketing, he equips fitness professionals with the tools and strategies they need to stand out, tell compelling stories, and win more business. Listen, I invite you to connect with Craig on LinkedIn to learn more about him and his work. And Craig, listen, man, I want to hear from you. We're here to celebrate you, but there might be somebody in your orbit you want to celebrate on the Creator Spotlight. So I invite you to come hang out with us on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. But Cassie, check this out, man. So Craig is over in Fort Collins, Colorado. He's all about active age marketing, like I said, to over 50 professionals. The dude looks like he's kind of jacked himself. And as we always joke about on the show, if you're picking a trainer, you want to pick a trainer that look like you want to look like. So clearly, Craig has done some. He might have lifted a few weights in his life and living a pretty healthy lifestyle. And if Craig is over 50, he doesn't look like he's over 30 here. So Craig, whatever you do, man, keep it up, brother. So Craig McBreen is today's Creator Spotlight for Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. I invite you to check out his content. He's got great content in the feed. And as I said, if you're an active ager, somebody who's over 50, Craig is the guy you want to hang out with. And Craig, would love to have you here in the lab to celebrate you and celebrate somebody who's in your orbit for Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. All right, so there you go, Cassie. There's our segment with Creator Spotlight. And hey, you guys are all wondering where Christina Flynn is this morning. Here she is. Yeah, true story. Yeah. Yeah, Christina's busy parenting right now. So, and I sent her a text tomorrow. I said, "Hey, do you mind if I show that video?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it's fucking hilarious." I said, "Oh yeah, we've done it already twice. Now it's 3 times." So we're putting Christina's little boy on the screen here this morning. But all right, so we're gonna wrap it up, Jimmy. We're gonna wrap up the segment. Cassie, let's close off with you. What do you got going on for today? What's going on today in your world?
Oh, doing a couple of networking calls. I love to chat with people, build relationships. So that's the highlight of my Thursdays.
Nice. Oh, of your Thursdays, is that like a scheduled kind of thing for you? Is Thursdays a networking day for Cassie?
Yeah, I try to save those days so that I can just have a productive but fun day. And
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what do you do?
If you're not intentional about it and you don't schedule it, right, it doesn't happen. So instead of trying to fit it into everywhere else, I leave it dedicated.
Awesome. And then last question for you. What do you do from a business athlete perspective? What do you hit the gym, or you use yoga, or do you run? Do you lift? Like, what do you do to take care of Cassie Adkins to start your day?
I take care of my ducks, chickens, and turkeys.
That's it.
I have to walk all the way to them and back. That's my morning.
I'll tell you, on Monday, we had a good friend, Daniel Internella, on the show on Monday, and he's a farmer. And he was joking about the exact same thing. He's like, I lift the feed, I walk the wheelbarrow, I do this, and this is my gym before I do this. So I can appreciate that, Cassie Adkins. All right, nation. Well, listen, it's time for us to say goodbye here, Jimmy. We're going to walk and roll out of here. We're going to get on with the day. I got a busy day ahead of me as well. We got post-production, got a bunch of meetings to do and so forth. But I got to tell you, Cassie, I've had a lot of fun with you. I hope you'll come back and hang out with me again. You'll have me? Will you come back?
I will.
Yeah, we'll get you back here on the show. We'll have some more conversation and comments and get a good old time. And you won't have any nerves next time because you've been here before. Huh? This is true. This is true. So this is how it's going to work. We're going to cut a bunch of content up for you. You're going to put it into your inbox and you can share it with the network. And we're going to see you in the feeds and we'll stay in touch. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Keith and friends. All right, nation. You guys have a good one. And listen, the League of Business Athletes, League 100 days, 10 men, one awesome result. Come hang out with us. Mornings in the Lab, Keith and friends, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Cassie, have a good one. Jimmy, let's get out of here. See you guys.